Hey, this is Gail Kim, Impact Hall of Famer, and you are watching Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
And we are live, pals. Once again, it's weird for me to be saying that, but I begged Tyler to do the intro today because we have a guest that I have been dying to get on this show since we started the show. Before we started the show, in my old show. I'm going to start off with a little bit of a story here, if it's okay. Before we introduce our guest, I've been doing podcasts now for 6 years, and we've met a lot of great people, Tyler. We've been going around meeting people. I rarely get nervous. I can tell you the one time I kind of got nervous. I was doing media at one of the best shows I've ever attended here in Toronto. We did the all women's The Summit. And when I was walking in, I wasn't nervous to meet Bull Nakano. I wasn't nervous to meet, Lufisto. But my favorite wrestler, not my favorite women's wrestler, my favorite wrestler of that year was going to be at that show, and I had to meet her. Jordynne Grace is here today. You were amazing to meet in 2019, and I can't believe we're talking again right here in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know about Bound for Glory this week, when she takes on Masha Slamovich for her title, you better be getting on there. We're going to talk all about it right here today. We have Jordynne Grace. Jordynne, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me. That's an awesome story. Very, very flattering. Thank you very much.
It made my weekend. We had a lot going on that weekend. That was SummerSlam weekend. We were going to shows all over Toronto that weekend. And one of my favorite experiences that weekend was not only getting to meet you and get to talk to you, but you called me out on my selfie abilities. I asked you for a picture, and you saw the picture, and you said, "What the fuck is that?" and you said, "No. If we're gonna have a picture, we're not doing it." And you took my phone, and you took the pictures because my selfie abilities are horrible. And I tell that story all the time because it makes me laugh, and I think it really, that story tells the kind of person that I'd like to think you are, the person that I saw that weekend, the person I think we're seeing right now with that smile on your face. You seem to be a very, there doesn't seem to be very much bullshit about you. You're laughing, you're having fun. When I saw you at the summit, the whole weekend, you were just there having fun. Is that still what wrestling is to you? Are you still that person going to each show and you're like, okay, this is work, but we're still having fun today? Is that still you after all these years?
I love my job. This has been my dream. I've been wrestling since I was 14, and I'm one of the very few people, like, just in the world that has been living their dream since they were pretty much a kid. So I'm happy about it for sure.
Fantastic. All right, Tyler, why don't you throw out the first real question?
Well, I can tell you firsthand that his selfie-taking abilities have not gotten any better over the years either. But let's talk about...
It's not an uncommon experience for people to come up and take a selfie, and I'm just like, look, man, we're going to have to read that. If you're going to pay for a selfie, we got to take a good selfie.
Well, let's talk about Friday, October the 7th here. Impact Wrestling is presenting Bound from Glory. It is live in Albany, New York. And I got to say that one of the most anticipated matches on the card is the Knockouts Championship match. You're defending your title against Masha Slamovich. Is there like a lot of pressure that you're feeling going into this match on one of the biggest, the biggest event that Impact Wrestling puts on a year? And let's be real, your guys' match is getting some of the most attention. It's getting a lot of TV time. What kind of pressure are you putting on yourself to step in there and deliver in this spot?
I talked to Pro Wrestling Illustrated yesterday, and they had asked me the same question, and I said, I want to have the best knockouts match in the history of Impact Wrestling. And the guy was like, "Oh, well, that's no pressure on yourself then, huh?" I was like, well, yeah, I want to always have like the best match on the show, the best match on the card. And I really feel like this match is going to be, me and Gianna had a couple of amazing matches last year. and they ended up being like listed in like the top 50 Impact matches of all time. And I really feel like this could be another one of those matches that could be like the best matches of all time. And I want to live up to that. I know there's a high bar right now that's set for us because it's so anticipated, and they've been promoting it as, you know, two of the most intense knockouts of all time, facing off not for the first time, but for the first time, I guess, since Masha's been undefeated for a year. And I just want to live up to the expectations of everybody.
Yeah, I feel like stylistically wise, this is a great opportunity for you to live up to that expectation that you have. You know, you two are so intense in the ring, and the styles are the perfect matchup for that. And Masha's been on a roll leading into this match. You know, she's picking up wins over Tennille Dashwood, Madison Rain, Gianna Peraza, and most recently that incredible Monsters Ball match that we saw last night with Ali Catch. What impresses you the most about Masha, and you know, what do you think that the fans can expect from you two? Obviously, you've set the bar high there, but you know, what impressed you the most about Masha?
She wrestles like, this is gonna sound strange, but she wrestles like she's a guy. She like just will slam you like she's a full grown man, even though she's 5'3". Like when you take anything from her, it's basically like a 7 foot tall person is like smacking you or suplexing you or something like that. And I feel like we have similar styles when it comes to that. We're gonna hit each other hard. We're gonna suplex each other for real. Hopefully I don't have to wrestle the next day on the tapings. Like my fingers are crossed. That's all I gotta say. But I just know it's gonna be like a hard hitting, intense match.
Perfect. Mike, you want to jump in here?
I do. Sorry, I was looking for my list here because this is a hell of a list I got to go through for a second here.
I think we got a freeze on Mike here. I'll jump in here and ask the question then. Another big story leading into Bound for Glory is Mickie James. You know, she's saying she wants to work her way back up into the title picture. She's putting her career on the line in every single match going forward. Can you kind of just talk to us a little bit about what Mickie James means to you personally, and how important she's been for that Knockouts locker room?
Well, first of all, I think it's important because Mickie she's older. She's in her 40s. And I think it's extremely important for women in wrestling, especially nowadays, to have the representation of someone who's a veteran like that. It is extremely rare to see women be able to wrestle at the caliber that she does at her age, just because, you know, we have kids, our bodies get beat up quicker. And you have like guys like PCO, you have like 60-year-old men out here wrestling, and we don't have the same representation in women. So I think that it's incredible that we have someone like her in the locker room who's a veteran, who is basically, I've always said to myself, oh, I'm going to stop wrestling when I'm 30. That's 4 years away. That's likely not going to happen. Right. And, you know, Mickie is, I think she's, don't quote me, 42 maybe.
Don't get me now.
She's still, and she's still going. And I'm like, well, maybe I have another decade or so left. So she's definitely someone that I look up to in that regard.
Okay, now let's fast forward maybe a little bit here in a hypothetical world, because I don't want to take anything away from Masha or Mia Yim, who are two incredible talents. But there could be a situation somewhere down the line where you could be that Knockouts champion standing across the ring from Mickie James with her career on the line. Are you willing to pull the trigger and end that career of Mickie James if it means holding on to the Knockouts championship?
Man, I haven't been asked this question, and I have not even given it a single thought. So, I mean, I got to do what I got to do, right? Like, I mean, she is the one who set this up for herself. It's not going to be my fault if I win the match. Like, she's the one who told the fans that if she loses another match, that she'll quit. It's not going to be on me.
That's fair. So, you know, she's kind of bringing it on herself then, right? If that's the case.
Yeah, and she's had a great run, so no one can fault her.
Well, let's talk a little bit about other Hall of Famers here. This year, we're seeing Raven, who's going to enter the Hall of Fame. In the prior years, we've seen Gail Kim and Awesome Kong get inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. Are there any other knockouts that you would like to see personally go into the Hall of Fame?
So you said Gail Kim, Awesome Kong. I mean, that's a good question.
It could be male figures as well. Then we don't have to just not limit it to the knockouts, but
Madison isn't in it. Is she in the Hall of Fame already?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, Madison, I'm probably like 90% sure that she's going to be inducted at some point. Like, I just feel like that's going to happen. So she'll definitely get inducted. She was just like a huge staple of the knockouts division for so long, even though she's with AEW now. But yeah, off the top of my head, is Mickie in it?
Mickey's not in it yet. Not that I know of,
Okay.
at least.
Well, maybe I'll end her career and then she'll go in the Hall.
And then you can induct her into the Hall of Fame after, right?
Yeah, we'll do it right there after the match.
Yeah, on the spot. First time ever.
But yeah, those two women would be, they're gonna go in the Hall of Fame, but those are two that I would definitely say they need to be in it.
Absolutely. Now, I can't talk to you without bringing up another amazing person and someone that you did a lot of work with, and that is Scott Steiner. You always hear Scotty was a little wild. Do you have any fun stories that you can tell about working with Scotty and Petey back in the day?
You know what? None that are appropriate.
I would figure nothing less.
For public consumption. I don't want, the dirt sheets to go crazy with this interview, but he's just like, he just reminds me of like a dirty old grandpa. That's what I would call him. Like, he's just a funny old man. And he's like, in his heyday, he was incredible. He's just an entertainer 100% of the time. Like, he's someone that I feel like no matter what, he's gonna just probably eventually die entertaining someone just because he's so funny. Like, he's an awesome guy.
Absolutely, he is. Yeah, we love a good Scott Steiner, and he's a hell of a mathematician too, obviously, right?
He is an amazing mathematician. Yes.
Let's talk about yourself a little bit personally here. You're clearly in the best shape of your lives, and you made a lot of great lifestyle changes here and choices. You've had both the Knockouts Championship. You've got the WNPF Georgia State and National records for squat and bench. Is that correct?
Yep, squat, bench, and deadlift.
That's right. Can you kind of just tell us about what has helped you or what has made you decide to make this transition? Because you are in absolutely incredible shape. I would challenge your physique against anybody in the industry. You look incredible.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That's really nice. I don't know. I just I've always wanted to be seen as a strong power wrestler, and I want to look the part. And I feel like I did look the part, a couple of years ago, but I was a lot bulkier, and I want to have like visible muscles, like someone that I think looks incredible. And I look up to her physique a lot is Jade Cargill. I think she looks just incredible. And, I've been thinking eventually, both me and my husband have been talking about doing a bodybuilding show. So I think that's kind of our next goal, is that we would love to get our pro cards in bodybuilding. So maybe eventually that will happen. I've been telling him we need to enter a competition that's not having us prep through the holidays, because it's already hard enough as it is without having to diet during Christmas and Thanksgiving. But hopefully, at the beginning of next year, I'll be in even better shape and I'll be able to step on a stage.
Yeah, and I follow you on Instagram, and I love watching just like the transition, and you're so great at posting, and a lot of people are watching that as well. Is there anything that you'd like to tell, especially girls and women out there who are maybe interested in things like bodybuilding or powerlifting, because they might be a little bit intimidated in a world that they don't know a whole lot about? Do you have any advice that you could share to people that might be interested in that?
For sure. Like, you just got to jump in with 2 feet. It's at the end of the day, you just got to go full steam 100%, and just commit to something. Because if you constantly, you're thinking about doing it, you just need to do it and try it. And it's an addictive process. I feel bad for Michael.
Mike just sent me a text message that his internet provider, there's a power outage in his entire house right now. He is devastated.
Oh, I feel terrible.
You are his absolute.
So sorry, Michael.
You are his absolute favorite wrestler of all time. He has not stopped talking about this for a week. My heart is broken for Mike as well right now.
Send me his Instagram after this, and I'll send him a message. I feel really bad.
He'll love that so much. I will, for sure. We'll have to just schedule a part 2 sometime, right?
Okay. I'm sorry. What was your question again? I just completely went off track.
No, that's all right. Mike will appreciate it anyways. So I was just asking about any advice that you'd like to give to any women that might be thinking about entering this world of powerlifting, if they might be a little bit intimidated to try it out?
Oh yeah, like I said, just jump in with 2 feet. Get a coach and a trainer if you can. There is so many resources online that you can look that are completely free. If you want to get an online coach, that's something that really helped me a lot. I got an online coach and I also had an in-person coach. So it was kind of like having 2 people to bounce knowledge off of and just get information from. And it's just one of those things that you're going to get addicted to. And it gave me such like an incredible boost of confidence. Like I definitely attribute it to helping me in wrestling, helping me in life. It's just one of those things where if you are strong, you feel like you can do anything.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And, you know, speaking of strong, let's talk a little bit about your accomplishments here. First Impact Digital Media Champion, First Impact Iron Woman, First Queen of the Mountain, First Knockout Triple Crown winner. What's next that you want to try to accomplish? What's next on the bucket list?
Man, I really want to hold on to this title as long as possible. I would love to beat Taya's reign. She has the longest reigning, she's the longest reigning knockouts champion in history. So that would be cool. But other than that, I just want to represent the knockouts division as best as I possibly can and represent Impact as best as I possibly can. I want to get more eyes on the show. There's so many talented wrestlers there that work their asses off to have the best product on TV right now. And we definitely just need to get more people to watch the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do personally think that Impact Wrestling is putting out the best weekly television on the in all of wrestling right now. I don't even think it's close. And, you know, we're big supporters of Impact Wrestling on our show, and we try our best to spread the word because we want everybody to see what you guys are doing. It's incredible stuff. This one here we got sent in from our colleague, Adam Contant, who might be equally as big of a fan of yours as Mike is. He absolutely loves you as well. It's a little bit of a lightning round. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
All right. Protein bars or protein shakes?
Protein shakes.
Squats or deadlifts?
Squats.
Muscle buster or Jordynne driver?
Oh man, Jordynne driver.
Ultimate X or Queen of the Mountain?
Ultimate X all day.
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Cameo or OnlyFans?
OnlyFans. Oh, Cameo.
Mia Yim or Mickie James?
Ooh, man. Dang, why'd you do this one? I'm going to go with Mickie.
Because you have to retire her, right? That's
yes,
the theme, right?
100%.
All right, last one. Josh Alexander or Eddie Edwards?
Josh. 100% all day, every day. Yep.
That's the right answer because we're the Toronto podcast over here. We love us some Josh here. So good answer on that one for sure. The last question I love to ask you, and I always like to ask this question to all of our guests. You've done so many great things in your career, and not even just from accomplishment wise, but do you have like a special moment or a couple moments that you personally just look back on and they just make you smile? Just something that you're like, you know, that was really cool. It could be like meeting a fan, or it could be at an indie show or something with impact. Just something that personally makes you happy. And it's like, that's cool.
There's so many of them. Really. One that sticks out to me a lot is All In. I don't know if you remember that, the big event. Obviously I was the only woman in that big battle royal. And I think it came down to the last 4. I was in the final 4. And then at the end of that show, I don't think anybody knew it was going to happen, but they did like the confetti stuff where the confetti like rained down on the entire arena. And that was such an awesome moment for me. I loved it.
Yeah, and that inspired a bit of a revolution there in the wrestling world too, right? So great card to be a card of. That's amazing. You know, Jordynne, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today. I want to make sure that everybody is tuning in this Friday, October the 7th. You heard it from the champ herself. You will not be disappointed. She is going to put on a performance of a lifetime. And I will say that confidently because I've been a fan of yours for many years as well. And I know what you can do in that ring. You and Masha are going to tear it down. Want to wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much. And tell Michael I'm sorry.
Gotta say a big thank you to Jordynne Grace for joining us there. Mike, my heart breaks that your Wi-Fi cut out on that, but never fear, count it out, listeners, because we do have plenty more Mike to come. In just a short minute, we're going to be joined by our Impact Wrestling analyst, Adam Contant. Him and Mike are going to preview the entire card for Bound for Glory. I can't wait to listen to that conversation. Adam always brings it, especially with Impact Wrestling. Before that, though, I'm going to throw it really quickly to Mickie James. I had a chance to jump on to the Impact Wrestling press pass, and we actually got a response from Mickie James on the comments that you just heard from Jordynne Grace about possibly retiring her. So very, very interesting to hear that. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to hear from Mickie James right now, and then it's going to go right into Mike and Adam previewing Bound for Glory. Guys, check it out.
Up next, keeping with our international audience, representing Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. This is Tyler from Toronto. Hi, Tyler.
Hey guys,
Tyler.
thanks a lot for taking my question here. Appreciate it. So Mickie, I kind of want to circle back. You were talking about Jordynne Grace a little bit, and last week we had a chance to speak with Jordynne. Now, I don't want to take away anything from Masha and Mia, obviously, who are two of the top competitors that Impact has to offer. But I did ask Jordynne about potentially standing across the ring from you as the champion, and if she would be willing to end your career for men to hold on to that title. I'd just like to read you a quick little quote of what she said, and I'd just love to get your response to what she had to say, and just kind of your thoughts on how Jordynne's represented the brand as a whole. So she had to say, I got to do what I got to do. I mean, she's the one who set this up for herself. It's not going to be my fault if I win the match. She's the one who told the fans, if she loses another match, that she'll quit. That's not going to be on me.
Yeah. I don't see a lie in that. And I wouldn't expect anything less from her. You know, she is the champion, and, you know, no one wants to lose the championship. I didn't want to lose the championship. I mean, and I think, you know, if she was willing to let me win out of respect, then I don't feel like that would be a match that myself or the fans would want to see. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, she's having incredible matches, and I think that she represents the company and she represents that championship very well. And she looks like a champion. She goes out there and kicks ass, and she's a very dominant champion. And I love her and I respect her, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to beat her. But I know that there's a lot of people gunning for her, and I have a journey because I set it up this way that I wanted to earn my shot at the championship. You know, I could have walked in there and said, I want a number one contenders match, or I want to get a match to see, you know, for a number one contenders. And I didn't do that. I wanted to, I mean, I wrestled high-end, and I wrestled that Rachel Rose, who many people didn't even know before I wrestled Giselle Shaw, you know, and even Giselle, who's one of the newer girls on the roster, but she's still awesome. There's a reason why she has a job, you know? And now this weekend, like Mia, I love and respect Mia, but I don't want Mia to go light on me either, because that's not the type of matches I'm asking for. Like when I said I wanted to test myself, I really want to test myself. So I don't expect, if Jordynne is still champion by the time I get to the top of the mountain, which I have a lot of confidence that she will be. And I hope she is, you know, because I would really love to wrestle her. But if she's not, whoever's there, I don't expect them to go easy on me.
Absolutely. And Mickie, real quick, we've got Raven going into the Hall of Fame this coming weekend. Great person Raven is. And, you know, in the Hall of Fame, we see Gail Kim, we see Awesome Kong. You yourself are going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions asked. Are there any other knockouts that you would like to see get inducted in the Hall of Fame? Who do you think the next deserving one would be?
Oh God. Tracy Brooks, their original OG knockout.
Toronto's finest. We love her.
Oh, that's right. Or a Tara. I think Tara was, and she did incredible things. I mean, hell, even the beautiful people, I felt like they were so over when they were there, like as a group, especially in a tag team. I mean, when we were there, and when I was, 2010, like those ladies would get some of the hottest reactions of the night, you know, like the people loved the beautiful people, whether they were mostly bad girls, obviously. But yeah, I always say I always feel like there's a long list of ladies that belong in the Hall of Fame. And I say this, all the time before me, but I always go back to the women that I watched and that inspired me, and so, yeah.
Oh,
Tyler, thank you for your
I appreciate
questions.
the time, guys. Thank you very much.
Of
Best
course.
of luck on the pay-per-view.
We
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Let's say we break down the 2022 card.
Hey, that's a great idea, Mike. It's almost as if like this was kind of planned out in a way that we push the pay-per-view and then we talk about the pay-per-view. This looks like a very stacked card, and I think you're going to see a lot of things here that people aren't expecting from these competitors. Where do you want to start?
Let's go. I'm going to go backwards on the. I brought the card up on my Wikipedia page because obviously we don't know the order that's going to be on the pay-per-view. So
and I should also interrupt you and say that we are recording this on the 28th of September. So this card that we're reading off of is based upon the information that we have at this moment on this day. So there may be matches added, there may be matches changes, there may be participants announced or 100%. Taken away between now and then. We are working with the information that we have currently. All right, continue, Mike.
I want to end with the main event. So we're going to go backwards here. We're going to start with the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. And we are looking at Vexed, which of course is Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo, versus Jessica, formerly known as Jessica Havoc, and Taya Valkyrie with Rosemary in their corner. I couldn't love this more. I love everything they're doing right now. I've discussed this on the show before of how much I love what Decay has become. Decay started out, it was this dark little faction with Abyss, Crazy Steve, and Rosemary, and they it seems like they've kind of gone two separate ways right now with Black Taurus and the Crazy Steve over here, and Jessica and Rosemary over here. They're still together, but they're doing their own things. Taya Valkyrie back in the mix again, which I love because it was so entertaining the first time. Why not do it again? Throw this very strange, very amazing twist in the fact that Havoc is no longer this bloodthirsty maniac of a woman. She came back from the undead realm as someone that Taya Valkyrie wants to be BFFs with, and that's Jessica. Before we get into the match itself, tell me about the story. What do you love about what's going on here with the Decay?
Well, what I love about this trio of women and what they're doing is I think that they are telling a really great story that is very subtle. And what I'm hoping to see from this matchup is, first and foremost, a new tag team champions, a pair of new tag team champions crowned in Jessica and Taya. And that's not because I don't appreciate or enjoy Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo. I think they're fantastic. But what I think this is going to do is serve a greater story purpose in that, before all of this happened, we had Rosemary and Taya. And then when Taya went away, we had Rosemary and Havoc. Yeah. And then Taya came back and Havoc was kind of left off to the side a bit. And now that we have Jessica, because she's sick in the mix, Taya and her are getting the shot, not Rosemary. And I think that is very interesting because what I think this could end up leading to is a possible bit of jealousy brewing between Rosemary and the other two ladies. Yeah. I could potentially see this leading to a heel turn for Rosemary down the line. And I personally would be right here for that story. Yeah. I think that is
which leaves a question mark of what you do with Steve and Black Taurus. There's a lot of variables in this. There's a lot to work with. There's so much you can do with that. And even if you don't go down that road, even if you decide not to go, even if you just have her as their, I don't want to say manager, but almost their manager of sorts right now, That's a really great role for Courtney or for Rosemary right now. I really like her in that spot of her not begrudgingly managing them because she wants them to succeed. Where the story is right now, she definitely wants them to succeed. She just doesn't want them to succeed the way they're succeeding. You know, she wants them to be vicious. She wants them to be the decay. She doesn't want them to go for fucking froyo after the match.
She wants things to be the way they were.
Yes, and I'm loving it. They're planting, and this is another thing I love about Impact storytelling. And I may be wrong, but I'm going to go ahead on lemon here and say that this feels like it has Jimmy Jacobs' fingerprints all fucking over it. I love the story, the way they tell their stories. They don't have to just be, here's your fucking story, and there it is. I love long-term storytelling. I always have, and Impact has been so good at it lately. And this is pure and simple an example of that. They're just doing it so. They're taking, like you already alluded to this, they're taking two stories from before, mashing them together, and then giving us this brand new story of what could happen, what may happen, what won't happen. We don't know, and I love it. They give you more questions than you have answers, and that's what wrestling's all about in my books. If you have all the answers right away, what the fuck is the point of watching? And Impact doesn't give you the answers. I love this, which should bring us to the match. Let's not sleep on Vexed. Deonna Purrazzo, in my estimation, the second best women's wrestler on the fucking planet. I love the woman. Chelsea Green. I have said to Tyler, I cannot believe that Impact has turned me into a Chelsea Green fan, because I never have been. If you told me 3 years ago that in 2022, I would be a massive fan of both Matt Cardona and his wife, Chelsea Green, I'd call you a fucking liar. But they're now two of my favorite wrestlers on the fucking planet. Chelsea Green has impressed me so much in 2022 in general. But then this tag team with Deonna Purrazzo, it just fits. It's everything I want to see with these two girls.
It's weird. It's almost like Impact Wrestling is a place where women can go and develop characters and be given same amount of time as their men and not be relegated to an internet show. And yeah, it's just kind of weird how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, real quick, if you are a big fan of women's wrestling, Impact is probably the promotion you should be watching for that.
100%.
And speaking of women and getting equal opportunities with the men,
yes, sir.
I think we should talk about what has become an annual tradition at the October show, Bound for Glory, the intergender 20-person over-the-top rope, call your shot gauntlet. So for those of you that don't know what a gauntlet for the gold is, essentially it's a Royal Rumble match, except at the end, the two participants that are at the end wrestle in a one-on-one contest, and the winner gets the equivalent of a Money in the Bank contract. For those of you that are uninitiated, for those of you who know what this is and perhaps even watched last year's Bound for Glory, you know that it's the kind of thing that can absolutely change the face of the company and direction of storylines in an instant. Last year, Moose won the damn thing and then cashed in his shot that night to become Impact World Champion. But what's cool about this is that it's not just for the world title. You can cash it in on anything. Famously, in the year prior, Rhino used his shot to actually help Violent by Design become tag team champions, which I think actually gives it a little fun twist that nobody 100%. Else is really doing. As of this recording, no participants have been named, but I'm sure we can expect a few of the mainstays as well as a couple of surprises. Mike, does anybody stand out right now on the roster that you think could be holding that trophy at the end of this?
I got to go and see who's not on the card yet, because I have a couple ideas. Yeah, okay. A first name that comes to mind is Sami Callihan. Sammy's just been on fire this year. I could definitely see him being pushed. I could honestly see Moose being the first 2-time consecutive winner. I could seriously see that happening.
Can I throw out a
little,
hypothetical here? A fun
Yeah.
hypothetical.
Uh-huh.
Imagine if Moose wins the Call Your Shot Battle Royal again. After the main event, if Josh retained, Moose came out again, but this time Josh completely messed with him and then got him in the ankle lock and beat him right
Okay.
then and there.
All right.
How awesome would that be?
You were about to break my heart all over again.
No,
And,
because that doesn't make any sense. It makes way more sense for Josh to have learned from last year. And then when Moose comes out, Alexander just completely just guzzles him down. Now, of course, that would be a disservice to Moose, but I would have absolutely no issue with Moose getting that and being right back in the main event mix, because that guy is a franchise player for Impact. And you won't hear me say anything bad about Moose's performance for Impact Wrestling.
This could be a place to start building some stars, and we've discussed this before. I am a big advocate of one Steve Macklin. Seeing Steve Macklin take this and then hold on to it for several months, let it build. I'd be totally down for that. The list can go on and on. He's never really been talked about for the world title picture, but I would love to see Trey Miguel in there.
I mean, Trey Miguel's my boy. You know that. Yeah. I'm a huge Trey Miguel fan, so I would certainly love to see him in that mix, regardless of whether it is a world title mix or an X Division title mix. And if I may throw out another dark horse in there, or dark bull, as it were. In fact, literally a dark bull. I could see Black Taurus winning it.
Really?
They have been
I like that. Yeah.
They have been so high on Black Taurus lately. And honestly, I thought for sure he was going to win the Revolver Gauntlet match if Kenny King didn't win it. And I was wrong on both of those fronts pleasantly, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the way that they have been really pushing him hard, I could 100% see him taking that trophy and then maybe turning that into a story of which title is he going to go for? Because like you said, he's had a successful team with Crazy Steve, so they could pull that out of their pocket at any time. He might go after the X Division Championship, or he could conceivably take on whomever is the world champion at that time as well. I think you could do a lot with him. And if I may, I'd like to put out another dark horse candidate out there. I think Rich Swann has the potential to win the trophy.
Wow. Okay.
I'm putting it out there for a couple of different reasons, but I will, if you don't mind, I'd like to come back to that a little bit later.
Okay.
And there's one other surprise. Actually, there's two other names that I want to talk about.
I also have two other names. Let's see if they match up.
Okay. Well, the first one is Impact's newest free agent signee, and that's Bobby Fish. Obviously Bobby,
that would be a great way to bring Bobby in, and I like that.
It is going to be closer to his hometown. I think that because he's coming off of a lot of buzz, it could be a good way to kind of just immediately put him into that main event picture somewhere, or wherever they want to put him for that matter. And of course the other one, now that he's back and feeling healthy, is the man you mentioned earlier, one Matt Cardona. I think this would be a really great way to bring him back into the mix and put him right up at the top. I have a strong feeling, and maybe I'm completely off here, but I have a theory that perhaps Matt Cardona was supposed to be in Eddie Edwards' spot for this show. I could be completely wrong on that, but I have a lot of thoughts percolating about the main event scene, which we can get to when we get to the main event. But those are kind of my initial thoughts about the Call Your Shot.
As was said on one of my former favorite podcasts, we'll get there. I do have two. One, how great of a story would it be? How angry would Eric Young be if Cody won?
Ooh. Or how proud until we get back. Or
Cody Deaner wins Eric Young assumes they're going to go for the tag gold, and Cody says, actually, I think I'm going to go for Josh.
Or,
you know,
or he assumes that Cody will give it to him.
Oh, I like that.
He's the designer, right?
There's a lot of great stories to be told there. Honestly, if Joe Doring was still here, I'd say it's him.
He'd be a good candidate as well. Yeah.
But I like.
By
Cody.
the way, also, if I just may say, just in case it hasn't been mentioned yet on the podcast, for those of you that don't know, Joe Doring is battling brain cancer once again, and Impact has released several shirts, and on eBay now they're also auctioning off ring-worn gear and parts of the ring.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
For auction, with 100% of the proceeds going to Joe Doring directly. Please go out and support him. He's a good man and a fantastic wrestler.
Pay attention in the next month or two to countingout7.com. Our charity page will be back up and running very soon. We are working on something very special regarding Joe. I can't give the details yet, but it is coming in the next several weeks. My last guess, my last person I want to talk about. They like to push the fact this is an intergender gauntlet. Why don't we have the very first ever binary champion in Max the Impaler?
I mean, I'll tell you what, she certainly did not seem out of place fighting Jordynne Grace. Sorry, you're right. Thank you. They did not seem out of place fighting Jordynne Grace at Victory Road, and they would definitely not feel out of place with anybody, I think, in that contest.
I'm a big fan of Max. I've been a big fan of Max since I was, watching ROH for the last few years. And I was very sad when ROH went under. I said, okay, where's Max going to go? She went and did some stuff in NWA, but unless you're Pope or Tyrus or Trevor Murdoch, you don't stay in NWA. Nobody stays in NWA. You know what I mean? So I said, where's Max going to go? When I saw Max show up in Impact, I was very, very happy. And then they gave her James Mitchell, which made me 10 times happier. So that's, I love me some Max the Impaler. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in Impact, and I think it'd be a great way to spotlight them in this kind of match, this gauntlet match. Throw Max, men and women alike, and see them destroy everybody. I like it.
Awesome. Can we time out for a moment?
We can, yeah.
Sorry, I just heard somebody knocking at the door. Just 1 second. So that kind of brings me, since we were talking about, the gender gap within Impact and how it's, pretty much non-existent. Let's talk about another one of the featured matches involving the Knockouts, which is a career-threatening match. Friend of the show, former guest Mickie James, putting her career on the line against Mia Yim. This match has me confused, and not in a bad way, because I mean, look, two incredibly talented women. I'm sure the match is going to be absolutely fantastic, but I'm confused with where are they going with this? That's what I'm curious about.
Now, I seem to remember, and please, I don't want to speak for you, so correct me if I'm wrong. I seem to remember you not being a big fan of this storyline when it was Ric Flair in the Mickie James spot.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I was not.
So, very similar story. Very similar story. How do you feel about it now? Do you think Mickie is doing it, or do you think Impact is doing it justice better than WWE did?
I mean, first and foremost, it's very hard to say because we're just at the outset of the Mickie James story, whereas we have seen the Ric Flair story to its completed logical conclusion. So we really can't compare the two, apples to apples. Right. But apples to oranges, what I'll say is this. One thing that I think the James story has in its favor that the Flair story does not is that we know there is going to be an end point for both cases, whether that's somebody beats Mickie and then a new legend is made kind of thing, or until she comes back or whatever, it is wrestling, or James becomes the Knockouts champion again. Whereas with the Flair story, It was just no. You have to win every match or you're
Yeah.
done. It was never
Well,
you
is
have
it-
to win
well,
every
isn't that-
match or
isn't-
become the world champion kind of thing.
But that's what's happening with Mickie James, right? She has to win every match.
She has to win every match until she becomes the champion.
Once she becomes champion, then she's back on track.
She
Okay.
was setting her own ultimatum, which is that
Gotcha.
I have to prove I'm the best, and the only way to prove I am the greatest of all time is to start at the bottom, essentially, work my way up, and become the champion, and do it without losing. I have to prove that I can beat anybody put in front of my path.
Right.
So, and I think that's another big distinction between the two stories is that this is a self-imposed challenge from Mickie James, as opposed to it
I
being
like that.
forced upon her. And, I think that because Impact is the company that they are, I think that while it does seem kind of obvious in certain situations, for example, I don't necessarily know that Mickie James is the obvious winner in this contest. I would say right now my thoughts are about 90-10, right? So 90% of me is like, yeah, Mickey's going to win. She's going to keep going on because the logical conclusion is going to be Mickie for the belt. But there is that 10% of me that's like, this is Impact. This is the murder mystery wrestling company we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. And this is one of the reasons I love Impact Wrestling. I don't know who's going to win this match. I couldn't hazard a guess. If you told me that Mickie James ended her career at Bound for Glory, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. But if she was to beat Mia Yim and go on, that also, it's not like Mia Yim gets hurt by this. Mia Yim does not lose anything by losing to Mickie fucking James.
Only elevation here.
Yeah. So
Only
this
elevation
is great.
in all these
This is
cases.
a great match, great story. I hope it keeps going. I don't want this to be the end. But if it is the end, don't fret. You know that next year, probably in August, Conrad Thompson will give you Mickie James's last match. So
I'd buy tickets. I'd be there.
All right,
So
what's next on the...
I ain't gonna complain about that. We'll move on to yeah, you take it,
baby.
man. Talk about it.
Our boy, my boy, Mike Bailey. Man, the X Division has been the best it's been in the last 4 years, has it not? I like from Josh to TJP to Trey Miguel, this division has been so fucking good in the last 2 years. And then Mike fucking Bailey, Speedball himself. I know he's from Montreal. I know he's not from Ontario, but I still consider him a hometown boy. He's one of us. He's one of ours. And to have him go into Impact and make such a fucking statement and put on match of the night so many times, I could not be prouder of Mike Bailey for being X Division champion. And he's going against one of the toughest motherfuckers in the world in Kaz himself, Frankie Kazarian. My God.
Kazarian is a guy that I think has what I like to call Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H syndrome, which is he's a guy that just seems to get better as he gets older. Like I legit think that Kazarian is doing some of the best work of his career right now. And it was actually something I brought up with some friends of mine a couple months ago about how it's a shame that he's being wasted on Dark and Elevation, which for all you AEW stands, I'm not saying they're bad shows, but I'm saying the guy is doing some of the best work of his career, and he's not being given the opportunity to expose that. Whereas, when you come to Impact, they'll give you the chance to expose yourself on national TV. Yes, that was a joke. But Kazarian is so damn good, and he is a legend and a pioneer of the X Division. This is a really great open challenge for him. Like I said previously, not the guy I was expecting to have this spot coming into this show. But my God, what a great matchup this is going to be between two guys who embody that X Division style. This one's going to be dark horse for match of the night, I think.
I'm very sorry. The timing could not have been better on that right now. You're talking about exposing yourself on TV. I got a notification on my phone of a social media alert from our good friend Rory Fox.
Oh my God.
The timing could not have been better on that
His
one.
ears were burning. It's like it's like a spidey sense. Anytime somebody's talking about a wrestler in a penis suplex, his ears start burning.
I love Rory to death. Fuck. Gotta get him back on the show soon. Frankie, man, look at Impact right now. You talk about Frankie doing the best work of his career. You got Frank Kazarian over here. You got Eric Young. You have these guys that were X Division and Impact TNA mainstays 20 years ago. 20 fucking years ago. And they're going to be tearing it up at Bound for Glory in 2022. That's fucking crazy to me. They're still some of the best wrestlers on the planet. And I love that for them. I love that for us.
Absolutely. And hey, while you're on the topic of guys that have been killing it in Impact for 20 years, let's talk about the tag team championship match, man.
Yeah.
What a great generational clash this is, which is weird to say about guys that, like, you know, to me are perpetually in their 20s, the Motor City Machine Guns. But truly, I mean, comparatively to their opponents, this is kind of a generational clash.
Absolutely. And I like that you said the perpetually in their 20s, because I forget a lot of the times that I'm younger than Chris Sabin, because you know I can't move like that.
No.
But you're absolutely right, man. I'm loving this match. Honor No More, the Kingdom, OGK, I don't care what you want to call them. They're one of my favorite tag teams of the last decade, going up against one of the best tag teams of the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
And this match has money written all over it. Doesn't matter. I don't care who wins. We win. It's that cliche of the fans win. This is going to be one of the matches of the night for sure.
But to be clear, OGK is winning, in my opinion.
In your opinion, OGK comes out?
Absolutely.
I think they need it. I think if they want to keep this Honor No More story going, I think they need it more than Motor City does. The one thing I will complain about, and I complain about this so stupidly. This is where I become that annoying wrestling fan of complaining about things that don't matter. When I watch a lot of indie wrestling. I pay attention to a lot of my local scene, and I live in Toronto. I live in the Toronto area, so there's like 25 fucking local promotions to pay attention to.
Right.
And the one thing that drives me nuts, and it's not their fault, it's not the wrestler's fault, and I don't expect the promotions to all pay attention to each other, but it drives me nuts when I see, in Barrie Wrestling, Mark Wheeler and Jesse V are fucking mortal enemies, and then in Superkick they're tag team champions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It drives me nuts to see stuff like that. And I try my best to let go of it, but I have a hard time. Then you come to, not so indie wrestling, and you have the darlings of the wrestling world, the Motor City Machine Guns, playing the best babyface tag team in the world in Impact, and then heels on AEW. It drives me nuts. I don't like it. I don't. I don't want to say am I wrong, because I don't think there's right and wrong here, but am I just being an overzealous mark here?
I mean,
like, do I have ground here?
I'll say this. We also grew up in an era in which Bret Hart and his family were heels in one country and heroes in every other country in the world. So
very true.
I'm going to say it's all about geography.
Then you go up against one of my matches of the night, as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
this is the match I'm looking most forward to on the card.
This is where I'm going to quote friend of the show, Lenny Leonard. It's not women's wrestling. It's just fucking wrestling. And these two women are going to prove that on Friday. Jordynne Grace and Masha Slamovich. What a great story this has been, with Masha working her way up. Masha's been targeting people.
No.
You know,
You said that wrong. Not working her way up, slaughtering the roster.
you know,
with
one
the
after another.
with the exception of Giselle Shaw. And I don't know that they planned this. I think certain ones they planned, and other ones, she has literally knocked out the competition from the company.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Tennille
Mhm.
Dashwood fights Masha Slamovich, gone. Madison Rain fights Masha Slamovich, gone. Havoc defeats her in 90 seconds, changes
she
her
died.
changes her personality. Like, who is this dragon?
Yeah, no, they have built Slamovich into this monster. They built this character so well. And not only is it the right time to pull the trigger on her getting a title shot, but she's going up against the right champion.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Jordynne Grace is, I think, it's pretty easy to make a case for her as the face of the knockouts division, especially with both her success as well as her tenure there. I honestly think that the only knockout that can claim to have been there longer in a consistent basis might be Rosemary. Mickie James obviously has been there, but she's had stints other places in between.
Gail Kim,
But,
question mark?
I'm
not,
more referring to active wrestling.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, she's earned that championship. And I think that if, you put someone out in front and said, like, this is the person that represents our women's division, our knockouts division, I think you got to go with Jordynne Grace. I mean, like I said, you could make an argument for someone like a Deonna Purrazzo, maybe, who was so dominant for the last 2 years. But again, it's about consistency for me. And Jordynne Grace has been that consistent champion. Plus, let's also make no qualms about it. Jordynne Grace was in incredible shape for the last couple of years. This last year, she is in the best shape of her life. And when you say that about Jordynne Grace,
yes,
that is scary for any opponent. She's going to step into the ring.
Her body transformation has been fucking bonkers, in all the right ways, because I don't think she's doing it for Impact Wrestling. She's doing it because she wants to look a certain way. Not for you, not for me, not for Jonathan Gresham. I think she has this vision of herself, and she said, "Yeah, that's who I am." So it's about time I step into the body of who I am, and she did it. She fucking did it, and she, like, let's be perfectly honest. You know me well enough. You've known me long enough to know that I might have a bit of a crush on Jordynne Grace. Meeting her.
Whoa, wait a minute, Mike, hold on. I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a little bit of a crush on Jordynne Grace. Are we gonna have to fight now? Are we gonna have to fight for? Are we gonna have to fight for the right to get bitch slapped by Jonathan Gresham? Because I will fight for that.
I will as well. That's why I was upset when we got the chance to meet her in 2019 at the summit, that she didn't just throw a knife on the floor and said, "Okay, boys," But no, not only is she one of the most gorgeous women on the planet, she is one of the nicest people I've ever met. I've met between the two of us, we've met a lot of fucking wrestlers in our span of time, and she's probably in the top 5 of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And then bring in her career.
Right.
Nobody deserves this more than Jordynne.
But however, here's the question, Mike: can a nice body and a nice personality stop you from getting snowplowed? That's the question.
And this is where it lies. I'm about to make my official prediction, and it breaks my heart. But Jordynne's not walking out with that belt, man.
I'll say this: she definitely has better than a chance. But if I'm a betting man, and I am, I'm still going to put my money on Slamovich. And it also tears me up to say that as well. But I'll say this: it's going to be a great match. There ain't going to be no handshakes. There ain't going to be no hugs at the end of this match.
No.
But Jordynne will live to fight another day. But I'll tell you something: it is going to be the new Russian Nightmare coming out on top. with all due respect to friend of the show and former guest Nikita Koloff.
Thank you. We finalized this card before moving on to our list with the main event.
If I may interrupt,
Yeah.
There is one other aspect about Bound for Glory that isn't listed on the card officially, but I do think plays an important role, and that is the induction of the newest member of the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame, which I figured
bringing this up.
I figured you would want to talk about it because I know you're a big fan of his work. I'm a big
I
fan
am.
of his work, and I honestly think this was an incredibly appropriate induction.
It's about time.
Yeah.
And what about it?
Yeah.
What about Raven? What about Raven? Man, did you happen to see who they chose as the two inductors?
I didn't, and I thought there was only going to be one because in my mind there was only one obvious choice, and that is, of course, a man who's actually working in Impact as a producer, and the man that I think most would say is most connected to his career, and that's Tommy Dreamer.
That would make sense. From what I read, and I believe this was written by good old Uncle Dave, so take it with a grain of salt.
All right.
But from what I read, it's two inductors, Mickie James,
okay,
and CM Punk.
That is fascinating. I'll
Now,
say this:
if Punk does it, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be it's via fucking satellite or video or some shit.
Well,
He
yeah,
won't be
I mean,
there.
to be fair, The Rock did that too, and it was still kind of awesome.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, then again, he showed up for Dave Prazak's induction for the GCW Hall of Fame, so I could be wrong.
I'll say this: if it is CM Punk via video or live, whatever it may be, that would be bonkers just because of the amount of
with everything
nuclear
going
heat.
on right now, and Impact's like, let's bring him in.
But then again, right? Again, 2 years ago, they were like, yeah, we got The Rock. And it's like, hey, this is a true fact. Which wrestling company did The Rock appear for in 2020? There was only one, baby, and it was Impact Wrestling. Who had that on their bingo card?
Yep. So
again,
that is
I
the
repeat
leading
myself.
rumor. That is the leading rumor.
I repeat myself when I say, again, this is the murder mystery wrestling company. So, I mean, anything can happen.
I mean, they could kill off Raven in the induction. We never know.
Maybe that's why
I know
Mickie James is there, to show him how to take a train to the face.
And then spend an entire year with Inspector Tommy figuring out who did it. It'd be amazing.
That would be amazing.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I know we're making jokes here, but God, well deserved. I mean, the level of credibility and star power that he brought to TNA when he first made his debut was really unmeasurable. And then you have him introducing things like the Clockwork Orange House of Fun and being integral in the evolution of the Monsters Ball. And not to mention the development in the careers of a lot of the young men and women that he took under his wing, Punk and James being two of them, of course. By the way, Punk and James, sure, they're big stars, but you're not going to include Julio De Niro in that? Shame on you guys. Just the guy, I mean, his story of getting the NWA World's title was, I think, one of the very first emotional stories that I connected with in TNA wrestling. And the guy, of course, has that gruesome scene of getting scalped in the middle of the ring that's always made the list of like TNA top moments, for better or for worse. And of course, let's not forget that he also had the commentary line of the year this year when he was on commentary for Clockwork Orange, and he said, kicked him in the dick. That alone is a Hall of Fame worthy line right there.
Holy fuck. You're not wrong. I will say this to finalize this section. This might be controversial, but I'm gonna go ahead and say I loved his work in ECW. Loved it. But I think Raven did his best work in TNA.
I mean, you're not going to twist my arm to get me to agree.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I think it's very fitting that he is finally going into, after 20 years. I don't know when they started their Hall of Fame. But
doesn't matter.
I after all this time, it's about time he gets his rightful place, his rightful due, his rightful recognition in the Impact Hall of Fame. I love this.
Yeah, me too. All right, now we can move on to the main event.
Before we get to the top 7 main events, let's do the main event of 2022, the the man who, the man who's really carried TNA through the last year or two, whether it was in the X division or in the main picture. He was even on the back of your minds every day, even when he was out with injury. Man, Josh Alexander, Impact champion, maybe with his toughest opponent yet from a storyline standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm liking this. Eddie Edwards, man, just a couple of years ago, you know, Eddie's that clean cut babyface coming out and hugging Rich Swann after he beat Eric Young. Now he's fuck everybody, fuck Impact. Where's my due? When's it coming to me? This is bullshit. And he's getting his due. He's getting his shot. He fought for it. He won it. The leader of Honor No More going up against Josh Alexander for the World Heavyweight Championship. My call is Josh walks out with that title high, but it could go either way. It really could. Where do you see this match going?
You know, I have to admit that I don't think I have been as into the build for this story as I was, say, Josh and Eric Young earlier in the year. But it absolutely makes sense from a story standpoint for all the reasons you mentioned before about Eddie being the jilted hero in his own mind to Impact Wrestling, being usurped by this young up-and-coming chosen franchise player. But there's no question about it. Bell to bell, these two are going to tear the house down just because of who they are. Eddie Edwards has a work ethic that's pretty much unparalleled to anybody in that company, with maybe the exception of Josh Alexander. So to say that these guys may go until one of them passes out or dies is very potential. It has the potential. And since Eddie Edwards is die hard, we could see it. I thought someone was going to die in the barbed wire massacre. No, it could be the main event of Bound for Glory. As to who's winning, I think Josh Alexander is the smart money, but there are some tinfoil hat thoughts floating around in my brain that make me think maybe we will have a Honor No More celebration in Albany, New York tomorrow night, primarily because of outside factors. Right. Now, one of those outside factors could actually work against my argument or my theory, and that's PCO. We know PCO and Eddie Edwards have not gotten along, and it is very possible that PCO could try to come out and help the leader of Honor No More and end up actually hurting him. He may end up just freaking out and just going after Eddie because, you know, he is not human. Or I think that interference could come from an unlikely source. Now, hear me out on this. Okay.
I think I know where you're going, but I want to hear this.
Earlier in this podcast, 17 hours ago when we started, I said that I'm long-winded, folks. Sorry. I said that I think one of the potential dark horse winners for the Call Your Shot Battle Royal could have been Rich Swann. And one of the reasons I think that it is possible he could win it is because I think Rich Swann might cost Josh Alexander the world title, either by giving it to Eddie Edwards or by cashing it in and claiming it for himself. And here's why I say that. Impact has proven that one of the things they are very good at is subtle storytelling. And for months now, even since the beginning of this whole storyline between Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards, we have had references to Rich Swann being a former world champion, how he's never really got another shot to be that guy again, how he carried the company through the pandemic, all of that stuff. And then we are seeing a lot of Josh and Rich together, both hanging out backstage and as tag team partners. And it just feels like they're planting some seeds, like Josh even saying like, oh man, I hope it's you. I really want to wrestle you for the title. And Rich even being the runner-up in that six-pack scramble. I think they are planting some seeds for a Rich Swann heel turn. And I think if they're going to pull the trigger on it, they got to do it in a big, big way. And I think that there could be very few places to make it bigger than the main event of Bound for Glory. So that is my long shot, 1 in 1,000 chance of happening. but I think it could be, again, murder mystery
like
wrestling
that.
company.
I like that. I like that a lot. I have a similar theory for my long shot.
All right.
Well, I still think Josh is walking out, but if he doesn't, I'm thinking of a different heel turn. And I'm thinking somebody does cost Josh the title, and it's the newest member of Honor No More, Heath.
Ooh, that's interesting. Not the name I thought you were going to say, but it is interesting. Okay.
Heath comes out. You expect him to attack Eddie, but he turns and attacks Josh.
That is a very interesting idea. Okay.
And the whole thing, the thing with him and Kenny, everything has all been a ruse. They've just been playing everybody the whole time, and he's been a secret member of Honor No More.
I mean, that's not a bad idea. You know what actually would also
because they're getting away from the Ring of Honor stuff now, right?
Right.
So it would make sense to bring in a non-Ring of Honor guy to the stable.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because the first thought that came into my head when you started mentioning the newest member of Honor No More, I was like, oh, Bobby Fish. Of course, that makes sense. He's a former Ring of Honor guy. But
right.
I agree with you in the sense that they can get away from the, hey, we're former Ring of Honor guys and we're disgruntled, and evolve it. And also, I also want to say that doesn't not mean that I don't think Rich Swann could not also join Honor No More at that point in time. No. Because if you think about it, he could have a very similar idea as Eddie Edwards in the sense that, like, look, I carried this company, and then as soon as Kenny beat me for the belt, I was tossed to the side. I never got my rematch, all that stuff. And then obviously my thought would be you could move Eddie into that feud with PCO. The only other possibility I could see, and I don't see them doing this, is Cardona. If he does show up and win the shot, could maybe claim it. But if he is the guy to take the belt off of Alexander, which I think he might have been scheduled for this. I think that once he got hurt, Impact maybe had to pivot a little bit. And again, that's purely a theory.
I think you're kind of on track with it.
Especially with it being in New York. That's Cardona territory. But they may end up saving it. Who knows? Like I said, we'll never really know the true story. But bottom line, my money's on Alexander. But as always, it's always interesting to ask what if.
Exactly.
Mike and Adam always delivering. Bound for Glory is going to be an incredible show. It is this Friday, October the 7th. Make sure that you guys are checking out Barrie Wrestling on Saturday, the October 8th. Little birdie, myself, is going to be doing the ring announcing. Very exciting stuff. So check that out on IWTV. Go on YouTube to check out our exclusive interviews with Van Landen and Isaiah Cross as we build up their match for it. Over on Instagram at CountItOut7, I have a great conversation up with Rich from Wrestling on the Rise podcast, previewing the show. Everything Bound for Glory you just heard. Guys, thank you so much for all the support. Please do us a favor. Subscribe to YouTube. Pass it along. Get everybody to click that subscribe button. We've got so much great content in there. Eric Bischoff interview. We've got an interview with Dory Funk Jr. coming up soon. Jack Evans is in the archives. We're working on some other stuff. Fingers crossed. Guys, we appreciate all the support. If you could help us grow that YouTube page, the more views, the more content we can put out. So, and to all of you that have been with us since day one, thank you for everything. We love you guys. The Count It Out crew, the COCs in the house, baby. And on that note, as Mike would always say, Mike did Mike did We Are Live, pal, with Jordynne. I'm going to take Mike's gimmick this week. You have been counted out.